good evening. Welcome to the Monday, May 19, 2025 meeting of the Grafton Planning Board. Let's see, we'll check. Dave Robbins is not here tonight. I am filling in. Let's see, Greg?
Present.
Justin?
Present.
Prabhu?
Present.
And Ray Mead?
Here.
Fiona?
Present.
And Natalia?
Present.
Barely. Okay. We'll move along to public input. This is where if someone has something to talk to us about that's within our purview and not otherwise on the agenda, this is their chance to do that. Raise your hand if you have anything to say. No hands. Moving on, action item. There's a request for a determination of minor modification at 5 and 7 Main Street.
Good evening.
Do you want to tell us anything first?
Sure, I can do just a brief introduction to this. So the project at 5 and 7 Main Street is coming along really nice. The site is almost complete. Mike and Mark are here this evening to talk through some minor changes that site changes that happened in the field as construction was unfolding. Not significantly different from the approved plans. Jeff Walsh and I were out there in February. It was cold that day, I remember. And at the time, the determination from an engineering perspective and planning perspective was that the project was looking good. A couple of things here and there, and that's why Mike and Mark are here this evening. I just reiterated that any changes just need to be approved by the board, and they're going to give a rundown of what those changes are. There's some as-built uploaded into the record, civil, parking, and landscaping. Landscaping is going to take over the majority of probably the discussion this evening. But yeah, I had no problems with the construction. Neither did Jeff Walsh. Conservation didn't have any comments either. Yeah, they're just closing the loop before they get their final CO from building.
Name, rank, and
Mark Santora, Grafton, Mass. I'm the engineer for the project, the second engineer. I'm the construction phase engineer. That was HS&T Group designed the site. Basically, we're here before you because just to ask for the.
Sure. You just have to introduce yourself. You don't have to.
Okay, that's it. No, you don't.
You can.
No,
Now I can sit down and talk. Okay.
Yeah,
So,
just tell us.
For
What,
sure.
Tell us what you want to tell
So
us.
basically, we wanted to come before you because Fiona thought it prudent to run the changes to the landscape plan, the landscape work past you before final touches are put on everything. Basically, it's very, very, very similar to the design plan, with the exception of the number of plants in excess of the required number that was on the approved plan. The species are from the species list. It doesn't include all of them, but they're listed. It's basically got two types of trees: shrubs and arborvitaes. The arborvitaes will grow tall in the back. The shrubs will stay low in the front. As you can see on the plan, the difference that Fiona thought would trigger us having to come show this to you is the row of plants. If you could pan to the back, so we can. There you go. The row of plants in the back are on the rear perimeter of the site, where the designer had them right across the middle of the back of the lot, and that was intersecting the property, so Mr. Levy wouldn't be able to utilize it. So he chose to put them in the back, and I think it's better back there. The plants will grow. There'll be a perimeter, a buffer that will buffer the site when they finally grow, and it was tastefully done. So, but it's different. So that's the reason we're before you. And then ground cover, the impervious is the same. So basically, he did some mulch in this areas instead of grass, some gravel in the back of Building 7 instead of grass, but it's for access to the back of the building and walking and so forth. So it's very, very similar to the design plan.
Yeah, a few thoughts and questions. I don't know how pertinent they're gonna play out to be, but just to say, it looks like on the original plan that row of greenery in the back was, it looks like it was positioned to be outside of the 200-foot buffer to the river. That was why looks like it was placed there. I don't know if that has any impact as far as conservation or anything. If they're doing stuff in that buffer, I don't know what that plays out to be.
No, Concom review wasn't triggered for this project.
Yeah, because like on the actual the original site plans, which is Exhibit 28 in the original filing, it shows the 200-foot buffer to river with all the plantings and everything else outside of that buffer.
Yeah, outside of the riverfront area
Yes,
buffer.
but
Yeah.
the new plan shows all the way to basically that corner which crosses that buffer to river.
Negative. We're still on the other side of that 200-foot mark.
Okay.
Where we planted them, we're still outside that 200-foot mark.
It was hard to tell from what I was looking at.
That's
how
a,
the view
that's
was.
a zone line, sir.
Yeah.
I believe that,
Yeah.
I actually spent an extra like $1,600 to make sure we were exceeded. We're the closest one to that buffer zone. I can tell you exact because we had it surveyed was 207 feet.
Okay.
That's the furthest one out to the closest one, I should say, to the river. So we made sure we stayed out of that to keep conservation happy and everybody else.
That's good. That was one thought I had when I
Yeah.
looked at the two versions. The other question I have is, this might be more for Fiona as well, I don't know. The propane tank, from looking at the original plan as well, it looks like the propane tank is within the side yard buffer, side yard setback. And I don't know if that's,
The definition of a structure is a foundation and a roof, so.
I wasn't
I
sure
don't
if that
believe
was
that's,
allowed as
that
well.
triggers the structure.
I didn't notice that, but you got do you, Mr. Chair, the permitting for the propane tanks is request that that's been secured, because I think that's the only criteria.
Yeah,
that
they
I'm
got
going to be
permits. They
worried
pulled
about.
permits.
Absolutely.
The propane company, and they closed the permits out. But I don't think that the pad, it's just a concrete pad. It doesn't have a roof. It doesn't even have a foundation. So a definition of structure has a foundation and a roof. So I
I
think
wasn't
it's,
calling it the structure.
Yeah.
Like I just wasn't sure if the propane could be that
it's,
that far. So
You're talking about this one.
yes,
And it was actually per the recommendation of FD to place them where we placed them. We followed their guidance
Yep.
with them.
yeah, they're not buildings, so.
I just happened to catch it. And I'm like, that's interesting. That was where my mind went.
Yep.
It wasn't that it was wrong, just that it was interesting. And then, yeah, the only substantive difference that I don't think is going to sway me, but just to call it out, is along that same side where the propane tank is. The original plan had foliage buffer,
Yep,
and that I think is residential on the other side.
affirmative. Both sides are, and I actually had meetings with both property owners, and I gave them the choice, or I should say I gave them the choice. I asked them for their input, and on number 7, we actually ended up going with the 6-foot vinyl fence.
Yep.
Per his request. He didn't want to see the building. And look, that was at a great cost to us versus a few trees. But, good neighbor theory. Also on behind number 5, there's a chain link fence there with privacy slats on it. That was per George and Georgia. They preferred that versus trees, only because there's wires there. There's growth between that building onto theirs. Also with Joe, with the white vinyl fence on 7, he doesn't want to maintain it. He doesn't want in his yard. So, by all means, it was one of those good neighbor decisions on my part, at an expense, but look, it looks beautiful. It dressed the whole area
The
up.
pictures are nice. I'll give you that. And
Thank you. Thank you.
I think actually one other question is just why not? I don't think it's gonna bother me either as well, but between the new plan and the old plan, the tree minimum width is the new one is saying 2 inches caliper.
Yep.
The old plan was 3 to 3.5, I believe it said. For the caliper on the trees I looked at, yeah, 3 to 3.5 caliper. I just was wondering why.
I think that the original was like, I don't want to get in the mind of the other engineer, but
Yep.
it was a cut and paste. It even referred to the city of Worcester in there.
Okay.
So I think they just took the street trees and
Yeah.
put them in there.
I-
But this is, the landscape has started with some healthy arborvitae's, but to go to 3 inch.
I know our typical bylaw does say, I think it says 2 inches. I just was curious if there was any specific reason why it was changed other than,
Absolutely, I can vouch for that.
And I think it said both on the original plan because I took an excerpt from the plan, but not the entire thing. And so the 2.5 was for the shrubs and one type of plan. The 3 was for street trees, which he didn't plant street trees. So
Okay.
that's
In the front, I went with those there for the height because there's wires right there.
Yep.
Why, it's going to create a problem down the road. They're all year long. They provide the color. It's great for the nature, for the birds, especially in the fall and winter season. It's a good nesting for them. And the ones in the back grow to 20 plus feet. So, and they have great privacy once they mature.
Yeah, the back ones will fill in and create a buffer. The ones in the front he wants to keep low because the building's beautiful.
Yeah.
It's got landscape features and want to.
We don't want to hide $3 million behind trees.
looks good to me, but
Okay. I think, since this involves a special permit, that Ray will be involved in voting on it if we vote,
Yes.
even if we vote to close the, well, it's not a hearing.
Yeah, it's not a hearing. It's
No.
just an action item.
Okay. Even though it's not a public hearing, does anyone have anything to say? Does anyone have anything to ask? Does anyone have a motion?
are you invoking Ray?
Yes.
Okay,
Well, I'm designating.
designating.
Or
yes.
appointing.
I'll move that we find that this is a minor modification and direct staff to do the appropriate documentation.
Second.
That was a second?
Yep.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? If not, Greg,
Aye.
Justin,
Aye.
Prabu,
Aye.
Ray,
Aye.
and I vote aye. Motion carries unanimously. Good luck.
Outstanding.
Thank you
Thank you
very
very much. I appreciate it.
See ya.
Might as well give you
I'll
a
follow
call.
up with the.
Absolutely. I'll be around, Ray.
Thank you. Thank you all. Have a great night. Stay safe.
All right, draft decision. Yes, draft decision for special permit, SP 2025 and so on, 74 North Main Street, Light Mind Psychiatry. This is draft decision. We have a draft decision. Has everyone reviewed it thoroughly? Any comments? Where are we with Ray with this? This is a
You need 4.
special permit,
Yes, special permit. Need 4 votes. So
and
Ray.
but he's eligible. Is
Yes,
he?
yes, because he was president.
I'll designate Ray on this. Getting lots of work tonight.
Good.
That's what you want. All right, maybe someone wants to make a motion if there's,
I move to grant the special permit, find favorably on all the findings as listed, and approve any requested waivers. I don't remember if there was. As I'm scrolling, while I'm talking. Yeah, there are some waivers. Approve the requested waivers with the conditions and the draft decision as written, with any modifications that may be presented by the board during discussion.
Second.
moved and seconded. Any discussion?
I didn't see anything that struck my.
Makes your head spin how fast this is.
One of your easier ones, you said.
Well,
The obvious changes of putting Ray in for record of vote, etc. But
yes, of course. Okay, well, if there's no discussion other than that, Greg,
Aye.
Justin,
Aye.
Raybu,
Aye.
Ray,
Aye.
and I vote aye. Motion carries unanimously. Good luck.
Thank you.
They'll be moving out and you'll be moving in soon.
Yeah, it's sometime in July.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Hopefully early July and start.
I see that they're making progress across the street.
I saw that. Yeah. Really coming along, huh?
Such a project.
But the timing lined up, I think, for them and for me. So
Good. Thank
I'll
you.
follow up with the information tomorrow with paperwork and, I'll let you know what the next steps are.
okay, super. Thank you all.
Congrats. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Let's see. Are we going to have enough time for 3A before half past?
I believe so. I did give them a heads up and told them that it might be a 15-minute window, so they were prepared for that.
Okay, well,
And they're on,
Let's-
in the room and ready for that, yeah.
Okay.
And Lynn is online as well, so.
all right, this is about a proposal for us to think about using, chapter 40R of the laws for 124 North Street rear.
Well, good evening, Mr. Chairman and rest of the commission. So the board rather. My name's Scott Goddard. I'm the owner of the record property, about a 90-acre parcel at the intersection of where the Mass Pike is, Magnolia Drive, Wesson Ave, and North Street. So I have with me Lynn Sweet, who's a consultant for housing projects of this type, and just a minor correction to the announcement that was made. Rather than 40R, this is a discussion about 40Y, and rather its applicability applicability to this site.
Thought I said that.
Hi, it's
that's okay.
Lynn. Who's doing the screen share? Because I was going to try and share from my computer.
That's me. I can switch. Lynn, I can fix, give you the permissions.
Are you able to give me permission?
Yep.
That way I can do it the full screen, I hope.
Yeah, go ahead.
Great to meet everybody. Do you want to say a few more words before I get into the presentation, Scott?
No, I think you can take it from here, Lynn.
Sure. So as part of the last bond bill that was passed at the state, there was a change to the regulation for 40Y. 40Y has been on the books as long as 40R has been on the books. But really nobody's built anything under the program. And one of the impediments was basically the siting of the buildings having to be similar to a 40R zone in a commercial district. And it's very hard to build home ownership in a commercial district. So we've been really fortunate to meet with Fiona and the town manager and talk about the statute itself and kick around some ideas on a site that Scott has site control over. So I'm going to just quickly go through the kind of the 40Y basics. I know that the town has done 40R before. Some of it may look a little bit familiar. The one thing is that so far, the state has not actually adopted rules or regulations around 40Y. They've said, come to us with a proposal and we will review it. So although we believe they have drafted regulations because the state has been so busy with MBTA communities and then with the ADU legislation, they just haven't gotten to 40Y yet. And so similar to 40R, the 40Y is called the starter home zoning. And it is adopted by simple majority of town meeting. Some of the limitations or parameters around a 40Y is that the maximum size of a home can be no larger than 1,850 square feet of heated living area. So you still could potentially have a solarium. You might be able to have potentially an unfinished basement, and it doesn't include garages. But the goal of the starter home bylaw is really to try and produce homes that are not $1 million, maybe not even $750,000, to try and build smaller homes at a greater density, so that we can try and hit the market that doesn't have any options today. And I think you all know that home prices in Grafton over the last 20 years have changed immeasurably. One other item is that no fewer than 4 units per developable land area. No less than 50% of the homes will be 3 bedrooms, will have 3 bedrooms, and their affordability requirement is no less than 10% of the income restricted units would be at 110% of AMI. So when you see the no less than, it basically means you can build more 3-bedroom homes if you want. It basically means if you want to offer your affordability at 80% of AMI, you can do that too. It's a negotiation. And similar to 40R, there are a lot of local requirements that you don't necessarily need to comply with. You really have to deal with state regulations on wetlands, state regulations for Board of Health, state regulations for stormwater management. And this particular bylaw is really targeting, because it says in its introduction that you're not allowed to put an age restriction on the bylaw. The municipality is able to impose reasonable design standards, and there is a site plan review. So in a nutshell, the process would be, hey, you really like what we're looking at doing. Like 40R, we would draft a bylaw, we'd go and negotiate what's in that bylaw. If the town adopts that bylaw, then we would come in for a site plan approval. But oftentimes a lot of that is really done up front. Similar to 40R, there is the same financial payments to the community that have kind of 2 parts. One, when you pass the bylaw, the town gets a one-time payment dependent on the number of units. And then as each unit pulls a building permit, there's another $3,000 added onto that. Other fiscal benefits are, typical to most development project, with building permit fees, annual real estate taxes, and so on. So Scott has assembled a pretty substantial site that the town has seen before, or the planning board, I think, has seen before. And we are looking at this as a mixture of detached homes, but there's nothing in the bylaw or the regulation that says they can't be attached townhouses. What you can't do is you can't do an apartment building. You can't stack units on top of each other, but you can have units next to each other. So what we are giving you as an example is something that's more of like a multi-generational. So you might have like a ranch that's a 2-bedroom that has a first floor primary, or it's all on one level. And then we've given you some that have 3 bedrooms up. So that might be more attractive to somebody coming into the market. We have tried to create a really walkable site that has pocket parks, that has a clubhouse, that has sidewalks on one side of the street, to really think about this as a brand new neighborhood, and not what I refer to as the Stepford houses. So this, I know, is probably going to be really small for you to look at, but the site itself, its main entrance is off of Wesson, and we have put essentially clubhouse, sort of visitor area here. And then these denote what could be individual lots of 1,850 square foot homes. Everywhere you see a brown dot, that could be some type of a pocket park. You could have a dog park. The site is unique in the sense that there's already a trailhead down here. So you'll kind of see this meandering brown all the way through. the thought is that we could do something that would be phased in. You could have your initial phase here. There would be a wetlands crossing here, and phases over here and over here, and then kind of continue down and have another phase over here. We want to be respectful of the homeowners here on Magnolia Lane. So if and when we get to this last phase, we would be looking to have that be emergency access only. So this is what a ranch option might look like, that sort of one level. It has a flex room here, it has a bedroom here, a primary bedroom over here, and a great room. So the houses are longer because the lots are shorter and longer. And this would be a 2-story option that would then have all of 3 bedrooms on the second floor, and you would have your living space here on the first floor. And then this is sort of a hybrid ranch that could have some primary on the first floor and potentially other bedrooms upstairs. So we have the flexibility of creating a lot of different housing types that could house a lot of different populations, and we see the benefit of having not something that's age restricted, not something that's just targeted towards first-time home buyers, but something that would have be attractive to all people, on the age spectrum. We've put in a clubhouse at the very beginning. We think it's really important if we're creating a neighborhood for people to have space to gather, go and get their mail, have a birthday party, or I was going to say watch the Celtics, but that ship has sailed here. And so this is an idea of what it might look like. There is no shrubbery here. This is stripped down. There would be trees, there would be shrubs, but the idea would be to have different size houses with farmer porches, different types of trim on the outside of the houses, and even different color on the outside of the houses, so that you're looking at a neighborhood that has some variety to it. And this is just, again, kind of another point of view. And that is really all we wanted to present, because we want to hear what you're thinking for next steps. We hope we're looking for feedback from you tonight. And then we would start to, if it's positive, continue to have conversations and potentially look at drafting a bylaw and going to a town meeting vote. So I'm going to stop sharing. And Scott, I don't know if there's anything you want to add in.
No, I think there was just one little typo in the early part of the presentation when you mentioned the 4 units per area. I think it was intended to say per acre. So there's a density requirement of getting at least.
It's per buildable area.
Oh, okay.
What does that mean?
And and I think I did send the bylaw along, but we can look at that again.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman? What's the, I heard you say a price on these things, an average price. What's an average price on these houses?
I mean, we're looking to do houses that are going to be around 6 or 650, and we were also looking for the affordability component, the 10% affordability component, to do something down at the 80% level. So they probably would be 250 to 300 for that 10%.
For the 10%. So there's 180 units. Is that what I saw? I didn't add it all up,
I think
but
it's
I thought
170.
there was 170.
Yeah.
70 units. So
Yeah, again, a potential.
so 17 units. 17 units would be affordable in the 250 to 300 range. Correct?
Yeah.
So the rest of them would be 650, possibly 750. So those.
I don't think I want to go as high as 750, because then we're not.
Let's stay at 650.
Yeah, I think that's what we really want it. We don't want to hit that $750,000, because that's just not going to be affordable to anybody for a house and lot of this size.
650 over 30 years is about $6,200. $6,200 a month. And then you're gonna add taxes on top of a $650,000 house or somewhere around there, it's gonna be about $1,000 a month. So you're looking at these houses that are gonna be, it's supposedly be affordable. And it's gonna cost the homeowner probably close to $8,000 a month to live in this great, don't get me wrong, I think this is a great idea. I think $650,000 for an affordable house, or, houses that are gonna be probably 20 feet apart, is just way too much money, in my opinion. And the other thing that I saw that you showed that it had an emergency exit. So you're gonna have one driveway one road off of Wesson Road that's gonna have 170 houses on it and no second way out. I don't think that's gonna work, in my opinion anyway. But I looked at this when I first saw it, and I went through the drawings, I went through everything, and I kind of thought this was a great idea to have affordable houses for people or downsizing or whatever it is. And it doesn't appear to me, and tell me if I'm wrong, it doesn't appear to me that that's what we have here.
Appreciate your feedback. We can certainly go back and look at the pricing again on it and talk to brokers and sort of see what they think is appropriate for this product. There is a possibility that if there needs to be another means of access, to have another emergency access coming out on
North
I
Street.
just want to get, yeah, thank you, on North Street. So that would be another way of reconfiguring the property as well. Appreciate your feedback. Really good food for thought. We will definitely see what we can do about that.
Yeah, I'd say I love the spirit of it, like the size of the homes, right? Like I shopped for a house in this town, and there's not a lot of homes this size being made or available, right? So I think the spirit of it is great. I think Ray has a point of like, is it actually affordable? Is a question to kind of play with the numbers. And then the other thing I would just say we'd have to really look into is, can 170 homes actually access on Wesson? Because I drive that a lot, and I mean it's a tiny winding road. It's not really made for the traffic in and out of 170, right? So it's like what can it sustain back there if that's the access point, in a non-emergency situation, right? But I do really like the idea of starter homes being built, because they're really just not in my view lately. So I'd love to see
it's
how
less
we
to
can make it work.
maintain, less insurance, less maintenance. So we definitely, can, have traffic study done and sort of get recommendations for that as we go through the process. Sometimes, like a 40R, you tend to do those studies earlier in the process and don't wait for site review. And you also have to look at this as a build out that could take, 15 to 20 years. That's with all those different phases. So it will be happening, over time. They're not like an apartment building. They're not going to go up in 24 months kind of thing.
No, I get that part of it, but if you go drive those roads, I mean, that's not going to turn into a 4-lane road. It's a tiny road back there. So,
Okay.
but I love the spirit of it, and I think how do we kind of play with the numbers to figure out what the right size is to do something.
So yeah, in similar vein, like I think the emergency exits, exits are one thing for emergency access, but on Weston Road and North Street, it's frequently that we have trees or limbs fall down across the road and block access, that area. And, of course, that could stop if with proper maintenance, but regular maintenance of the trees and make sure no dead limbs, etc. But it still could happen. And then we do have a rule in a normal permitting process of no more than 500 feet for a dead end road. A dead end road described as from the single entrance from a main road into a development, the furthest point in that development, how far away from that entrance is it? And that would certainly apply here if we're taking just one entrance off Wesson. And even if you connect both Wesson and North Street, the further part of this development that your like phase 4, I believe it was, is going to be past that 500 feet as well from the joining roads for that. So that's
So you're
tonight.
referring to your subdivision rules and regulations.
Yes, and I think I could be misremembering that it does apply to our site plan review practices as well.
Yeah, I'm following up on that.
So this would be again, a new bylaw and like basically an overlay that everybody would work to craft together. I'm not saying that wouldn't apply, and certainly we can look at the 3 different entrances and look at the square footage. But I guess what I'm saying is it doesn't have to apply.
Yeah,
But we hear what you're saying.
I think to the point, the town does need more effectively starter homes available to people that want to either downsize or even start a home in the first place, if we get the first home. So I do like the general intent of this. I think this property has also been one that has had multiple attempts at trying to find a suitable development in it. This would be the latest, of course, and I would personally be uncomfortable just wanting to make an overlay that ignores the reasons that we have the 500-foot dead end street provision.
First I've heard of 40Y, at least anything more than there was something called that. I went through what we got, and oi. We would have a site plan review, correct?
Correct.
Would-
And you know, typically a lot of it happens, while you're drafting the
There's a-
bylaw, and it's sort of anticlimactic by the time you
I'm-
get to the site plan review.
I'm trying to find out about 40Y.
Yes,
Just
I'm
what the
saying that
provisions-
typically during the drafting of the bylaw, a lot of things are done, like, the traffic study and sometimes the
That-
stormwater management, just to make sure everyone has enough information to get it through a town meeting.
No,
So then once the bylaw passes, it would go to site plan approval. And it's sort of anticlimactic in the sense that a lot of the work has been done up front.
no.
But it is a necessary step in the process.
We have a bylaw
and-
about site plan.
And the
review.
town would choose who the
Hey, Lynn, I
hearing
think
body.
the chairman's trying to make a couple of points he wanted to say.
Yeah, we have site plan review. It's only allowed under the state to do certain things. Would this be subject to subdivision control?
No, because it would be its own overlay regulation.
That has absolutely nothing to do. Subdivision says you're putting in roads to break the ground up to let people break up lots. So there's no subdivision control. So we get no control over the width of the roads. The fire department doesn't get a chance to get the roads to be what they want. And there's no special permit. Everything above 5 units, I think it's 5 or 6, in our bylaw require a special permit, or have.
Okay. Have you done a 40R?
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Okay, so this is the same as 40R. You're going to put your regulations into the actual bylaw
No,
of what reviews it needs to have
I'm
and what
talking about
requirements you want to have.
I'm talking
on
about
the
what
roads and on the
40Y says we
buildings.
have to do. and whether there'd be any chance of even getting a recommendation to town meeting to approve something. There was something in there about wetlands, protections don't apply.
State wetlands regulations apply.
Our Conservation Commission wouldn't look at this.
They would look at it under the Wetland Protection Act, just not under.
No, I thought it said no. I thought the law said,
No, it's like
In
a
a similar
40B.
fashion to 40B, they would look at it under the Mass Wetland Protection Act, just not under the Grafton Wetlands bylaw.
what about 40B?
Under 40B, the zoning board of appeals
Yeah, I
is the
understand that.
comprehensive permit for all local applicable permits.
But this isn't under 40B. This isn't under ZBA.
In a similar fashion, the Conservation Commission would review this under the Mass Wetland Protection Act, just not under the Grafton Wetlands Protection bylaw.
I'm not even gonna get through this, but, you have one access. We've never allowed, there was one very small case of a small emergency access that we actually one or two, but they're very minor ones. This, to allow 170 units, and the second emergency exit that you mentioned is the reason that it hasn't been developed before, because it doesn't have the sight lines, because of the turnpike and their railings. And the people worked for years trying to get past that problem. You're talking about, I don't know, but I think we usually talk, what, about 10 trips per day for a residence?
I forget the exact numbers, but that sounds about right.
Yeah, so that's adding 1,700 cars, 1,700 trips to Wesson Road, which is already unsatisfactory. We had trouble, we didn't really get the resolution that I asked for when, what do we call it, the subdivision that you're connecting with, was built. It's on, up the hill
Magnolia
is
Circle.
unsafe.
Magnolia Circle?
Right, Magnolia. Yeah. It's a long ways from here to there for me. Anything more? Okay?
Thank you for your feedback.
Thank you so much for your time. We really appreciate it.
You just said thank. She just thanked you for your time.
Well, it's a really interesting, if you could accomplish what the people who wrote this law want to accomplish, it'd be great. But, what did Ray say, like $700,000 for 1,800 square feet? Isn't that a factor too? How many square feet do the houses they're building around here have? 2,000-3,000?
Yeah, 2,000 or 3,000, $1.5 million.
I can't believe real estate prices. So I see them in the paper. When they get 7 digits long, I don't believe them for residences.
Happens on a regular basis in this town.
I'm afraid I've noticed that. Okay, time.
You've given us a lot to think about. We appreciate it. Thank you again.
Thank you.
All right. It being after 7:30, it's time to pick up on our hearings.
Okay, the Grafton Planning Board will hold a public
I
hearing.
just-
Can
Can I point out
public
one
meeting.
thing? Real
Oh,
quick?
Go ahead.
Prabhu just emailed saying he has to drop earlier. It may make sense at the chair's discretion to take the 77 Worcester Street, the sign out of order.
does anybody object to doing that?
I don't.
Let's see. Okay. In that case, we'll take up
To be
6B.
continued. To be continued, what I was saying.
And sooner than, what did they vote at town meeting? They postponed something indefinitely.
Not indefinitely.
That's not in town meeting.
Put it on the table.
Hmm?
To lay it on the table.
Well, that's not what they said, though.
No?
No. Because you can take it from the, well, yeah, okay, that's what it should have been. You're right. All right.
Well, we won't read again because this is a continuation, but it's 77 Worcester Street, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, so we,
This is a continuation, so we just.
this is a
go right in.
continuation. How we doing?
All right. So, since the last meeting, the board had requested some more information from the applicant regarding sightlines specifically. That I won't speak to that. I'll let the applicant speak to it. But I just wanted to highlight that was a concern to follow up on. Since then, I was able to get some correspondence with the building inspector regarding this issue. To try and understand, her typical process when reviewing sightlines for signs when when it doesn't require a special permit from the board. So that's exhibit somewhere. I'm sorry. Oh, I'm in the wrong thing. That is exhibit 9 in the record. Also, we found the book. The green book, the Ashtoe Green Book, all 1,048 pages. So we uploaded it to the record, just to be to be comprehensive. But there was no concerns. It seemed from on her behalf. And the other issue that was discussed was the colors. Obviously, there is no relief that can be awarded by the board for that. One foreground, one background color. The applicant did say at the last hearing that they would be able to do that, and we'll speak a little bit more to that this evening. And then last but not least, there was a concern raised about wording on the structure, the sign structure with the addressing. So the applicant will speak to that as well. But at this stage, I did work on a draft decision. There's a few comments in there, some points of clarification that I would like to get. And obviously it's going to be subject to change based on this conversation today, but I did want to have it and kind of start working on it so that we can.
Well, so you don't think we can vote it?
No, I'm not saying that. I think the board, whatever the board feels is right, it's there. I just wanted to lay the groundwork of, this is where we left off last time. This is, and let the applicant speak to where we are now, and that a decision is ready. It will need to be updated though. So.
Let's see, and this is a special, well, what does anyone want to say or do? Anything? I'm beaten down on it. I after I got your message about 3 minutes before I had to leave home, I found the page, and there's something about finding that page or those pages, and I took a quick look, and where I looked didn't help me. I'm like I think I said earlier, just don't worry about it. I don't feel good about it, but
Okay.
we want to get you
Okay.
taken care of.
Amy Murray, AG Signs and Graphics. Unfortunately, Mike couldn't join me tonight. And I do want to speak, Mr. Hassinger, to your request for the site triangle. Unfortunately, as soon as the next day after that meeting, I did reach out to land planning. And I was expecting to get that back. And when I followed up with Norman today, he said he wouldn't do it. The reason why he wouldn't do it is because he specifically pointed to the bylaw where the sign cabinet itself needed to be 7 feet from the bottom of the cabinet to grade. And ours is currently 6 feet, I believe. So with that he will not do the site triangle for me, which I don't understand. I figured do it and it either benefits you or it benefits me, but either way, get it done. And Mike was willing to pay the extra $900 to have that done. And Norman even went down there today for me. He said he would go down there and look. And I never got to reconnect with him. I did call his office. He was out. There was somebody in the office who called him on his cell phone and was relaying information back and forth to me. But yes, essentially telling me that he would not do that site triangle, add that to the certified land plot plan with the sign as it is now. He did request a single post or 2 double posts. I explained to him that the sign is on a single post and what he is seeing in the picture is actually a pull skirt. So it's essentially decorative, and I can make that any size. When I did ask Brian from his office what size I could make that, the answer I was given was, he was like, well, I don't know, he said to Brian, and Brian said, well, how about 10 inches, the diameter of a light post, because we don't bother with those, and he said, fine, 10 inches. And that's sort of where we've left things, unfortunately.
So you're gonna be 6 feet where the 7-foot rule would apply?
I believe so. I wasn't aware of that 7 foot.
Mr. Chair, I can speak to that. So that's one of the requests for relief that they're seeking. That was in the original,
Do we
having
have-
the sign area.
We have any idea about the prior sign and how much? I don't know how.
The height of the prior sign, maybe the applicant will know. I don't have that information, if it was at 7 foot or higher or not.
I think it was actually a little higher. There were 2 cabinets on 2 posts for the old sign. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to measure it because I was no longer there. And I did ask the building department if they could look up the old permit, and it was never found. So I had no way to really know. You know, in the art world, they can kind of figure that out, but it's not exact. So when we were trying to scale it against a vehicle or against anything else that was in the area, we estimate it was probably 14 feet to the top of the sign. But I don't know what the distance was between the manual message center and grade, the bottom of that and grade. I have no idea.
Does anybody have any concerns about this?
I'll say based on our zoning enforcement officer's reply to Fiona, I'm happy to not continue to worry about the sight lines, you know, in the certified plan, especially in addition to what Norm had said as well.
Mm-hmm.
It's not going to tell us that much more, and this email is essentially my confirmation that we should be good.
I think if our decision can at least outline what all went on here and the factors in it, so that when we get sued by somebody else because we're telling them no, they'll come back to this. That happens.
I did want to just point out a couple of things. Mike has gone back to the sign manufacturing company, and he's now switched from a full color unit to an RGB unit to ensure that one foreground color, one background color. And I just sort of brought this as an example.
well,
Background is black.
I have
Text
no
is
idea
red.
why RGB, RG and B make color so.
They
but
do.
I'm not what you, just, you're supposed to turn the lights off within a half an hour after you're closed.
Right.
You're supposed to be one foreground color and one background color.
Mm-hmm.
And there are a few other rules that you really are probably getting familiar with.
I am.
One simple request is to make
Yeah.
sure Fiona has that printout of that picture.
Yes,
so that we can
absolutely.
Get in the record since you showed us. I figure that's the appropriate thing to do.
Yes, and I actually showed you this, and it still says 77 Worcester. It will not Worcester Street. It will not say that. However, we did want to ask the board if we would be able to just keep the number 77 on it for the address.
I have no objection.
I noticed that there's, I don't remember the business across the street, but they had an 80 for their address, so we'd just like to ask if we could have a 77.
Fiona is gonna explain why that's okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
The way the bylaw is written, you know, addressing information to that minimal extent wouldn't contribute to the sign area. That's you know, my interpretation, my professional interpretation. Obviously, the board can exercise their discretion, but as the applicant said, there are other signs along the corridor and in the district that do have basic addressing information on the outside of the sign area, and it wouldn't be a visual concern, in my opinion.
Okay. Does anybody have anything? It's a public hearing. Anything? Anything?
I think if the building inspector's good, I'm good. I appreciate the letter from the building inspector, so.
I move we close the public hearing.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Let's see, Ray.
Yeah, we need.
We'll appoint Ray to act on this. Greg,
Aye.
Justin,
Aye.
Prabhu,
Aye.
Ray,
I,
and I vote aye. Motion carries unanimously. The hearing is closed. We have a draft decision.
you thought you won already, didn't you?
I didn't.
Well, the hearing's
shoot.
The hearing's over.
The hearing's over.
Okay.
People do that all the time. So.
I was just still all upset about that 650 for a starter home. Like, I'll never own.
There's a lot of people that won't own.
So I move to grant the special permit, find favorably on all the findings as listed, and approve any requested waivers, the conditions, and the draft decision as written.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Is there discussion?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, I have some questions that I just want to clear confirmation from the applicant about the. So one exhibit had measurements slightly different than another. So I went with the worst case scenario, but I believe you said at the last hearing that the schematic in
Yeah, I was
exhibit
reading
one-
through this.
Okay,
Yeah.
so is that?
Are you, so I was reading the draft decision, so you had it at 30 square feet. But the sign cabinet, it's actually 4 by 6, so
Okay.
it's 24 square feet.
Okay.
And I'm sorry, it was
The
that what you-
height was 11 feet tall in the engineering plans, but it's 10.
I believe it's 10 feet. As far as I knew and have always known, it's been 10 feet to the top of the sign.
Okay. Okay, just bear with me. Okay. 10 feet high. The sign is two-sided or one-sided?
Two-sided.
That's what I thought. Okay. The footing, the specs of the footing in the engineering. That's accurate.
That's accurate.
Okay, good. Perfect. And that's, and so the changes to the sign, for the foreground and background that you were discussing, the brightness and the intensity, it's one standard.
I'm not exactly sure for the message center, but I can only make the assumption on the cabinet at the top just being LED that it just is what it is, because we build them all the time, and I've never dealt with dimming or brightening LEDs within the sign cabinet. They're usually just, bright white or soft white, same as a light bulb, kind of.
Okay, so
Yeah.
just like one consistent.
One consistent color, yeah.
Okay, yeah, because I think I
Brightness.
did see at one point in the schematic, in Exhibit 1, that there was some features that looked like it could be.
Yeah, and I'm not building the sign, so
Yeah.
I'm not exactly sure, but
Okay. Well, that's yeah. I think the LEDs are designed for daylight and evening, so
Yes, yeah.
not crazy concerned, but I just wanted to
right.
confirm.
I would imagine, they're pretty much the same as a high output fluorescent lamp, like a DHO.
Okay, that's all I have. Thank you.
Okay.
I can't remember, we've had something about brightness. I don't, maybe we worried about it and didn't figure out a way to get it into the bylaw.
There's a condition in
Okay.
in the draft that says the building inspector will be able to contact them to, if it's too intense and too bright.
Right.
That is in there. So
Okay. Is there gonna be anything that needs to change from the draft that we have the motion on?
yep, I need to fix some of the wording
Okay.
based on the information I just received. So some of it is just highlight updates, but I think I did say that the LED light was able to be adjusted for intensity and brightness, and it's going to be one
So,
level of brightness.
do you feel this draft the changes are mostly typographical and like the height and that kind of stuff that we talked about just now, and simple that the board should vote, or do you feel that there's going to be substantive changes that we will probably need to see?
No, I don't think anything. I mean, unless the board thinks that anything that was discussed right now is substantive. I don't. I think I'm fine. I'm fine. I have no concern.
So maybe the motion should be tweaked a little bit to
Yes,
include.
I amend my motion with a second to come to include all the changes as discussed.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Now we have the amended motion. Any discussion? Ray's on. Greg,
Aye.
Justin,
Aye.
Prabu,
Aye.
Ray,
Aye.
and I vote aye. Declare the motion carried unanimously. Now, that's the good one.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
There's an appeal, if you need, there's an appeal period of 20 days. and
Yeah,
blah, blah,
so-
blah,
20,
blah,
is it
blah.
20 or 21?
It's 20, so I need to turn over the paperwork, and we'll be in touch.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right,
Thank you.
great. Thank you very much.
No.
Appreciate your time.
No, I do want to thank our member Prabhu for sticking around with us, and this being his last meeting, I wish him well in his future endeavors as well. Thank you for your time on the board, Prabhu, and it's been a pleasure working with you.
Same. Thank you, Prabhu.
Thank you, Justin. Appreciate it. And thank you, everyone. Go ahead and vote for all the folks who are running for elections tomorrow. All the thousands of people who are watching this. Ray is candidate with the same.
Well, you
Thank you,
realize,
everyone.
you
Bye.
realize that this goes onto the file servers and to YouTube, and it's there forever. So, you can send your grandchildren to see.
Thank you, Bob. See you, everyone. Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank you.
thanks, Prabhu. Okay, now then, back to
All right, for real this time. The Grafton Planning Board will hold a public meeting on Monday, May 19th, 2025, commencing at 7:30 p.m. in the conference room A at the Grafton Memorial Municipal Center, 30 Providence Road, Grafton, Mass, to consider the application for a project plan review for the Cummings School of Veterinary Medicine at Tufts University pursuant to section 9.6.1.2 of the Grafton zoning bylaw for the construction of a student and occupational health building with frontage on Captain Liam O'Brien Road on property located at 200 Westboro Road and shows as Grafton Assessor's Map 21 Lot 1.a. Said property is located in an office, light industry, OLI, and campus development overlay, CDO, zoning district. The application owner is the trustees of Tufts College, aka Tufts University. Copies of the application and the plan are available for public inspection at the planning department during regular business hours or on the Town of Grafton website at www.grafton-ma.gov on the planning department / development projects webpage.
You wanna start us?
Sure, I can do that. As Greg summarized, so we are here this evening to discuss a new student occupational health building at Tufts. This location is going to be the former site of building number 7 that was in the master plan. So it's really the redevelopment of a former site. That building has since been demolished. Am I understanding? Okay, yeah. Since fully demolished, the applicant is proposing to do to construct, in addition to the building, 3 new parking spaces in the existing adjacent parking lot, including 1 ADA accessible space and 3 spaces with EV capabilities. There'll be a new concrete stairs and accessible railing at the front of the building, a widened walkway from the stairway to the front door, a new crushed stone walkway on the other side of the building. So two refurbished walkway, 1 brand new walkway and 1 refurbished walkway, a modified sewer line, and a new hydrant, and I believe it's also a new connection as well, but I'll let the applicant speak to that. And as well as improvements to drainage and landscaping. There's minimal drainage and stormwater involved in this application, but we did put it out for peer review just to cover all of our bases, and we did not get our peer review response back from Graves Engineering yet. I reviewed this. I had minimal comments. Just, this project is small footprint in comparison to the campus area, so really is minimal impact. But I'm happy to answer any questions that the board has for me before I turn it over to the Tufts folks.
Go.
I'm good. I'm done.
Hello, everyone. Good evening. My name is Liza Perry. I'm the Deputy Director of Government and Community Relations for Tufts University. Thank you, members of the board, and Fiona for having us here tonight. Before I turn it over to the architects, I'm just going to briefly introduce the Tufts team, as some of them are virtual and some are here in person. Along with me, we have Alistair Cribb, the Dean of the Cummings School of Veterinary Medicine. Behind me is Michael Grossworth. He's our landscape architect representing WDA Design. We also online have Heidi Sokol, our Senior Campus Planner, Nathan Scott, our Associate Director of Capital Programs, and then our architects representing is Genuity, our Ai Kurokawa, and Kira Duffy. And as mentioned, the project on the agenda today is the Grafton Campus Health Center. It will house student and occupational health services. The building will provide dedicated space for student and occupational health services for the Cummings School of Veterinary Medicine, and the reason and the need for this Grafton Campus Health Center is to accommodate a newly established student and trainee health center, which will accommodate a full-time occupational health services on campus. We do not currently have these services previously, and they are essential to support our students. We are currently operating in temporary space that does not accommodate the full needs nor the needed faculty. So we're in need of large, purpose-built space to be able to meet the long-term need on the Grafton campus. This is new construction, single story, slab on grade, 2,300 square feet with improved adjacent parking. I'm now going to hand it over to Michael Grossworth with WA to talk about the site plan.
Good evening, everybody. So, is there any way to bring the plans online?
There is somebody raising their hand online.
I think that's the architects.
Can't tell who's raising their hand.
Kira Duffy is the.
Tried to promote her to a panelist.
Kira's with Ingenuity.
Yep.
The architect. I'm gonna be real brief. I mean, it's a pretty simple plan. The 2,300 square foot building, mainly just a rectangular building, going to be occupying the same basic space as the previous building 7. We do have the opportunity to add a little extra parking because the existing garage building that was there is no longer there, and now it's just a driveway apron going to nowhere. So we're going to try and take advantage of that and use that to provide some extra parking. We are providing 3 EV-ready parking spaces. We are restriping the accessible spaces to make them more visible. We are providing walkway, redoing the walkways from the accessible spaces and keeping the slope under 5%, so we don't have to provide handrails for that, but there is a step that will have a handrail. We are going to fix the walkway leading from Captain O'Brien to the building. We are going to need to reroute the existing sewer line, otherwise it would be underneath the building, so we are going to need to be adding a couple of manhole structures to connect to the existing sewer line to reroute. And we will be providing a like a crushed stone or glue mulch pathway from the back of the building, mainly to be used for deliveries. And we estimate very minimal grade changes, very minimal cut and fill. And the landscaping that we are going to be providing will be harmonious with the landscaping on the adjacent building, so everything looks like it's nice and continuous. As far as the site plan issues, that's pretty much it in a nutshell. We'll hand it over to Ingenuity. They can talk a little about the building unless you have any questions at this point. All right. Perfect.
Thanks, Mike. Hi, everyone. My name is Kira Duffy. I'm a senior associate with Ingenuity, and I can walk everyone through just the building a bit. So I think, as everyone knows, it is a one-story, 2,300 square foot building. It's going to be slab on grade. It will be located in generally the same area that the previous building was on this site. In terms of the program for the project, it's a student and occupational therapy center. So it will have 2 exam rooms and 2 counseling rooms, as well as some clinical support spaces such as clean and soiled utility, specimen collection area, and then several staff-only areas such as nurse station, office space, and break room. The building itself will be wood frame construction as appropriate for the size of the building. We will be installing it'll be fully sprinklered. This was at the request of Tufts University. It is not a requirement by code, but we feel it's appropriate and are happy to install. The style of the building, we wanted to keep it really in line with the buildings around it. So we have a lot of residential style buildings, barn spaces. So for the design of the exterior, we wanted to kind of keep it simple, gable roof, sort of blending into the buildings around it. For the exterior materials, we are looking at like a hardy board fiber cement panel. So, kind of a quasi residential material, but very durable, pest resistant, water resistant. So we're hoping to, create something that's low maintenance for the school. We will have a few small lights on the exterior facade of the building, lights at any exits or entrances required by code. And then we are going to have a small spotlight kind of over the parking lot area, more for safety. These will not be shedding excessive light. They'll be pointed down so that they're directed towards the sidewalk. The roof for the building will be standing seam metal roof. Again, durability being, one of the key concerns for the school. And I would say that that's a good summary of the building, but happy to answer any specific questions.
Questions?
I don't have any.
Nope. You're speechless.
Carry on.
Awesome.
You haven't got it yet.
We were that good.
Mr. Chair, I have a question. So what is the size of the parking spaces? Because there's, I
Okay.
think they
I
look a little bit shorter than what we
was
typically.
anticipating that. So
Yeah.
we have an existing pavement field that's only 56 feet across, and the existing parking spaces right now are 16 feet on both sides with a 24-foot in the middle, giving you your
The aisle.
56. Yeah.
Yep, okay, yeah.
So we are trying to make the spaces a little bit deeper. Since it's not really a through street, we're going with a little bit a little deeper space, a little narrower
Okay.
drive aisle.
And that's in the bylaw that the board can waive, strict compliance with the sizing of the spaces as long
Right,
as
I
it can
mean,
fit a
we-
standard car. But
We are meeting width. We're just the depth. We're at 18,
yeah.
and the existing ones right now are at 16. So in order to
Oh, I see. Okay.
yeah,
Yes.
so we're making them a little deeper.
You're improving the situation. Okay, good.
We're making it a little narrower drive aisle, but a little deeper parking space. If we kept
Okay.
the 16, 24, 16, and kept 9, we could certainly do that.
Okay.
We-
Alice Grave, I'm the dean at Cummings School, and just the parking spaces are really there for the people that work in the building. When the students and faculty or staff go over, they'll be walking, they won't be driving. The customers will rarely drive up. There is parking on Captain O'Brien in front.
Yes.
We're not expecting, it's not really client parking as you'd normally expect at a health center.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got it. Yep.
We were trying to improve the best we can with it already kind of set without adding any additional pavement or encroaching into the Center for Animals and Public Policy building any more than it already is. So
Okay. And any concerns from fire about the proximity of the generator to I think it's number 54 Willard right there. There's 9 feet of separation, but I just wanted to make sure that they were
they
fire
did
didn't sit flag
they didn't have
anything.
they didn't have any comments.
Okay. Yeah.
that I saw,
Right.
so.
I just wanted to make sure that
They were concerned about having the additional fire hydrant, which is within 100 feet of the building, so it seemed to satisfy them.
yes, yeah, that's all
Yeah.
set. Okay, great. Okay. And how many staff are you thinking at this time? I know it's kind of a hard question to answer, but
So I actually can answer it. There's a receptionist. There will be 2 registered nurses, 2 nurse practitioners, and 2 counselors.
okay.
And so they provide the counseling service for the mental health, and then the nurse practitioners are staggered so that we have longer hours for the students, and then the occupational health services they cover that as well, but that's more during the regular hours.
Okay.
And just by way of history, when you mentioned the building before, we were originally going to renovate the original building, but then when we looked at it, it was like not really fixable, and so
Yes,
the
yes,
fire
yes.
department came and helped us
Yes,
take
yes, I
that
remember
down. And it wasn't mentioned, but this will allow us to get a DPH. It's designed to allow us to get a DPH license so that we can provide the full slate of services that we
Great.
need, and that's why it's the new building. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you.
So, my understanding is Board doesn't have any questions, but we still need to get the peer review back. Is that accurate?
Yeah, we reached Graves Engineering had provided a comment about evaluating the stormwater. Michael, I don't know if you want to. I know that
Yeah.
he spoke directly with
Yes.
somebody on your team.
Our engineer, Barry Asichin, did speak directly with Jeff. And basically he agreed that this is just a remove and replace type project, and it's not going to add or detract any additional, the need for any additional stormwater reports. So basically as a narrative was all he was asking for. And we did provide that in the package, so.
In the original package.
Yeah, I think we sent it in end of last week, but I did see it listed on all the.
It's in the exhibits.
It's in the exhibits.
Okay.
The narrative.
Okay, good.
Yes, so we did provide it.
Okay.
I think
Yes, 'cause
Natalia
I
had asked
do-
for it.
Yes.
Yeah, we got it to her.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, I was part of that correspondence via email, talking through the stormwater and the need, as long as the base is covered, because originally there was minimal, no discussion about it, and Jeff just wanted to make sure that the application wasn't silent on that topic, so we have something in the record now.
It's Exhibit 9.
So we're not waiting on anything more?
No, Natalia, are you engaged in any other conversation about this that I should know about?
Yes, so Graves, Jeff is still working on the estimate. We proceeded because there is funds in their peer review. However, he hasn't provided us with the estimate as yet, and he hasn't given us the final report. He will be providing those.
Okay. So you're saying, Natalia, the estimate, they had peer review funds in the account, and they're using some of that toward this, and they're.
Yes, so we started with a little bit there, so we were able to at least have Jeff start the peer review in anticipation that they will be submitting the estimate that he's going to provide shortly.
Did he confirm with you when that will be ready?
He did not say, but he said he'd have the estimate very shortly.
Okay. Thank you.
So he's going to be doing both simultaneously, providing the estimate and already starting on the review.
Okay.
So you're saying we can't close the hearing?
I'm still waiting on that information, so just to make sure that all the engineering boxes are checked, we need that. The project is simple, but.
Okay. I think it works out that I should designate Ray as on this, because either way, in the election, we'll be short someone.
Ray cannot vote on this. This is the equivalent of a site plan approval.
Well,
It's not a special permit.
oh, okay. That's right.
You
you're right.
You need
Okay.
3.
Yeah,
Which,
okay. But it is a hearing.
It is a hearing.
So,
Well, what more can we do?
Excuse me. Can I?
Yes.
It's not actually a public hearing, it's a public meeting. This is
Well-
done a little bit differently, whereas they have a master plan for Tufts, et cetera. It is actually called a special meeting.
Well, I treat it,
Okay, yes.
I treat it
meeting.
as a,
Still need 3 votes. You can't.
I
Ray
still
can't go
say,
away.
if somebody wants to have something to say, they can say it.
Yeah.
Does anyone have anything they want to say? Apparently, we need to request a continuation.
well, the applicant
to
needs to
get
request
the,
it. The applicant needs to request it, not us.
I know. We,
Our next scheduled meeting is June 9th. After that is June 23rd. And as usual, if you take the 9th, or should I say, request till the 9th, and we don't have the material in hand, you can always give the office an email and say, hey, can we request another continuance till the 23rd or whatever, that's always possible. You have to come in.
Let me check, but I should be able to do that. Yeah, right now I can make that.
Okay.
Yeah. Whoops, I just took a picture of your desk. Yeah, no, so we're requesting continuous to the 9th.
Okay, there's a form that, and
So I'll move that the board grant the applicant's upcoming written request to continue this hearing until June 9th, 2025 at 7:30 PM.
Second.
moved and seconded. Discussion.
And you don't need to roll call.
Hmm?
You don't need to roll call no more. Probably.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So voted.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much.
Boy, we're rolling through this.
you.
Not too bad. All right. Are we, thank you.
Thank you.
We'll, see you probably quite briefly. Okay, I think the next thing on the agenda is the Grafton Common Traffic Study.
Yeah, my update is, it's just the one that I sent out to the folks on the stakeholder list. So I met with Stantec on, last Wednesday. Was it last Wednesday? I'm meeting with them again on the 28th. They did provide a mock-up, which is not ready to share at the moment, but a mock-up of some suggestions that they have for 140, that include expanding the gores. They're talking about lowering speed limits, of course, we kind of anticipated that one. Improving visibility by bumping out curbs where feasible. They're talking about also talking about reclaiming some dead space around the common. The slip lanes, they've proposed some ideas about removing the slip lanes, but those are kind of the key talking points that they presented, but nothing is finalized, and they're working on revising a version of their PowerPoint to distribute amongst staff, and then factor in those comments about what they've presented to date, and then we're going to distribute it to the public.
Slip lanes.
Yeah, the little let me see if I can.
If I'm understanding right, like in front of the Grafton Inn,
It's
going straight to North Street instead of going.
it's really more on the other side, like in front of the church there.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, the kind of.
I don't think you'd wanna, do away with the opportunity to go towards North Street.
Yeah, that was my guess on what she meant. She said it's the other side.
But, yeah, okay, well, so, after the meeting, I talked to the chief for a minute, and he said he saw how the Rotary idea that I was pushing would be good. But
So yeah,
you'll be sorry, when the time comes, you'll be sorry that,
yeah, and then they were talking about some dead space here, expanding the green, curb bump outs here and here, slowing there's actually 3 different speed limits on 140, which is kind of
I
crazy.
think there's 4, but
Is there 4?
You're going to
Yeah.
Upton a little bit
So
anyway.
coming up the hill is what, 35?
Yeah, I think it goes 45, 40, 35, and then 30 through, I believe is what they said.
which direction are you?
So if you're heading toward the common on 140, heading
From Upton.
from Upton,
From
sorry,
Upton.
yeah, from Upton,
It's,
where my mouse is here.
Posted at 40.
It's like 45.
The sign,
and 40.
I don't remember that there's a sign that drops it to 30, but the electric sign tells you you're going too fast.
Mm-hmm.
When you're going 40.
Yes.
But,
So, I'm sorry, go finish that. I have another
Go ahead.
question.
No,
No, just go back to the slip lane thing for a second. So on the other side by the church,
Yeah. So this slip lane here. Sorry, I think I did this one. This slip lane. And this one.
and what would happen to that? It would just be taken away?
they floated expanding the green space, making it they're both two-way at the moment, making them one-way as well. They're kind of running through scenarios at the moment. I don't think they didn't hint that it would be, they'd be fully, both of them would be fully decommissioned. But the thought of taking one away was floated. But yeah, this is all very preliminary and based on the open house data and the feedback that was received. So they'll once the information is ready for staff to review, and then eventually the public, it'll go through a comment period and you can get the feedback from the public. But these are the gores that I was talking about. They have them expanded on either side, as well as here. This kind of median here is extended and widened. So yeah, just kind of trying to play with space in a way that makes sense and promotes safety. So a lot of good suggestions, and we'll be showing them soon.
Are they looking to do something so that there's less difficulty with big trucks on the turns that they can't make?
Signage is proposed, but it's other than signage. No, not really. It's a primary route for trucks.
Because there are
And then the
signs that
speed
don't,
limits.
there are signs, was mentioned.
Yeah,
Signs that
remove.
make no sense, even if the drivers try to obey them.
Right.
They still, they just, anyway. And, no, it's not part of this, but there's a section of the railing up near,
It's finally fixed.
Hmm?
It's finally repaired. You're talking about at the one that was broken? Never mind.
well, there
There
were two.
No, sorry.
There was one by, South Street. There was an area that was broken, actually more than once, I think, but by a truck trying to make that turn. But then there's been one that's been not finished, up near, the townhouse.
Yeah, it's finally repaired. I noticed
The
it
last
other
time
day.
I
was
looked
like,
at it,
wow.
it wasn't.
It just happened.
Oh,
Because I've been
So I won't see
I've
it.
been going by there, every day pretty much, going, wow, it's
great.
taking a while.
Okay. Well, let's not, take extra time. Anything more on this one?
No, just for all those out there that are listening, if you want to be added to the stakeholder list, please email me and I will do that. The updates are bi-weekly, and a lot of people seem to like them, and getting a lot of positive feedback from people who are on the list, and they really like the communication. And we'll post everywhere else, and we'll continue to spread the word in various different ways. But the email is the most current, up-to-date information and staying in the know. So let me know. Reach out to me via email or phone if you're interested in getting on the list.
There's one place that, I don't know whether anybody mentioned. As I go home, I go up the hill, and then I go towards 140 in front of the country store and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
And there's this having to go like that to get into the to the lane. Those lanes ought to be somehow aligned better.
Yeah, and I will say that a signal was one scenario that was presented as well. Examining all options. Nothing is finalized, so I'm kind of reluctant to throw out everything that they're saying, because it's all subject to change, and depending on what the public thinks. But
I hadn't heard about anybody really complaining about it, but it's you end up, you know what I mean. As I'm coming up
yeah, I know.
towards 140 at the townhouse
But where
and the Grafton whatever, and there's this divided thing. Only coming out of where I'm coming from, I have to end up diagonally across the dividing line between the two lanes.
Okay. I'm trying to picture it.
Well,
but
if you had a more or less current image of that intersection,
aerials that,
You're talking about making a left off, what is that, like Maple, when you come up the hill
Maple, and then,
onto Millbury?
well, whatever the name of the road is there. A little bit of
Yeah,
a
you kinda
question
have
of
to
what the
wiggle.
names of the roads around the common are. They ought to work on that while they're at it.
yeah, add that to the list.
Well,
So,
someone should.
let me see if I can just quickly do this.
Yeah. All right. Now, where are we?
Top left.
Yeah. So, Bob, where are you?
What am I?
Left side of your, yeah, so the light roof L-shaped is
there,
the
there,
townhouse.
that intersection.
Yeah, this is the.
Zoom into that, zoom into the, yeah, that intersection. A little too much. Push the picture up. No. No. Push the picture up. We can't see what I'm talking about.
Where,
On the approach from the left, then
Uh-huh.
you have to wiggle over to get in the lanes. I think that's what you're
Come,
talking about, right?
yeah, move along the road, above your pointer. No, above your pointer.
yeah.
Move up, no. Just up to the road that runs left to right.
Should I zoom out?
No. Never mind.
Hold on. Let me-
I don't know what you're
I think
asking.
he's meaning. Let's see if I can do this in this. I can't.
Right, whoop, you had it.
Oh, okay.
That, come down. Oh, no, whoop, up a little bit, up a little bit.
I feel like we're out,
That's
we're
not,
out of
that's
here.
not a little bit. Just
Bob's putting me on the spot and I'm panicking.
forget about it.
Okay.
Forget about it.
Please don't make
All right.
We need something better. I tried to arrange it when we just built this room and I didn't have any luck.
Okay.
Stop.
Okay.
Stop. The intersection is pretty much right in the middle of that picture.
Yeah.
See, there's like one car there, others, maybe a car on the other side. What I want, now, whoop, right where your arrow just was where the car is.
Yep.
Go to that. Now zoom in. Can you keep going? Whoa. Yes. Look at the bottom left of the picture.
Yeah.
See the arrows there?
Yes.
Straight ahead and left and right. The problem is, if you back off now, keep going. If I'm coming up,
Whoa.
Stop. Now, put your pointer on whatever the name of.
Motion sick here. I gotta tell you.
I'm sick of the motion. Where your arrow is.
Yeah.
Yeah, move to the left a bit. Keep going. Okay. You come up into that intersection and now you're in that lane.
Yep.
And when that lane meets, it turns into the two.
Yes. Right.
You
That
don't have a clean shot to get into the right turn lane.
Yes. Yeah. They did mention that.
Okay.
Yes. That base is covered, actually. So good call. But yeah, they have some schematics that they did to try and align that better. And I won't give too much away, but yeah, it's definitely it was a topic of discussion how to kind of reclaim some of this and do this in particular much better and safer. So, yeah.
Okay. Anything more on the traffic study? Bills. Do we have any bills?
Yes.
I don't remember any bills.
There's some bills. Yep.
I move that we authorize payment of the presented bills.
Second.
Moved and seconded, discussion. Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? So voted unanimously. Minutes of previous meetings.
We do not have any.
Don't think we have any.
No.
All right.
We will though. Next time.
Staff report, you said you really, don't have much for us.
Just the master plan comment period is open to the public, so we've started pushing that out, and we're going to be having a lot of fun, cool things coming up. I'll be doing an info session at the library. We will be obviously putting it on our webpage. We'll be doing blasts, and I'm gonna do a PSA with the with the GCTV, and just a lot of different ways that we're trying to get the word out. And I want to continue to kind of bring it up at every planning board meeting, because ultimately the planning board will be approving the plan, and the feedback is very important on the draft that we have. So almost at the finish line with this project, very close, but this is the most critical part, is getting public commentary on the plan thus far, if we're missing anything or need to improve. So please reach out to the planning department if you are interested in getting involved or providing a comment or want any of the information. And then we've got a flyer circulating as well. So yeah.
All right, correspondence. Nothing. Reports from planning board representatives and as on town and CMRPC.
The EDC meetup at Reunion was last week. I unfortunately wasn't able to make it last minute, but I did see an email from our EDC chair that said about 25 businesses attended roughly, which is less than our previous year, but still a decent turnout. Rain may have had something to do with it this year, but the people that did attend were very engaged, and it was a good event.
Okay. Anybody else? Any other reports? In that case.
Motion adjourned.
Second.
Third.
But we have enough, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, because that wasn't debatable.
Thank you.
This was the first time in a while I didn't read the entirety of one of the exhibits. I didn't read the